Hello YouTube and welcome back to another episode of the Beat Reviews. 1212. Yeah, the microphone seems to work and everything is up and running, which is good and cool and awesome and great and whatever. Hi and welcome. Beat Reviews. We're doing this. Yet another week, yet another Monday, and we are live from Nomali Studios. That's what I've chosen to call this place. Hi, and we have a few new stuff, a few new things. I just installed this new, not installed, I just set up this new video light thing because I want even more lights in here. Need to understand where to put it and stuff, but you know, for now, this is what it is. This is what it looks like. So we have a little bit of blue stuff going on in the background. I don't even know. But we're not here to talk about my new video lights or anything. We're here to listen to music and to review beats, because this is the Beat Review by Accurate Beats live on YouTube. Could be a little bit louder. Loud and clear like that. Yeah, that's gonna jump up and down a little bit, but you know, that's just the nature of this so-called show. How are you guys doing? It's been a week since last time, and to me, it's good. I've been good. Now I'm noticing that we are getting a little bit too much light off of that one, right? Need to crank it down just a tiny bit. Well, I don't even know. Let's just leave it. People in the chat room are already hanging out because I am about 10 minutes late to this little party of mine, but it's fine. We have some people that we recognize since before, you know, some of our usual suspects. We have Beat Owl, we have Shorty86, After Monos in the house, Diamonds, Key 2 Beats, Billy Pads, Chris52 was here at least 10 minutes ago, so hi Chris. What's up? Beat Owl, TDub, Made So Well, Stan Solo, Billy Pads, you know, Vida Beats. Everyone's in here. That's awesome to see. I love that. JRZ Beats as well. Because, you know, having people coming back to the show means you put enough value into this little concept that it's worth your time to just join and hang out. And I think that's really cool. This concept we're doing, just to make it obvious to anyone who might be new to this, this is Beat Review. So I'm gonna take like the majority of the work on here myself. I don't even know if that's necessarily true, but we're listening to music from you guys. You are welcome to send your beats into the show and we're playing them live, reviewing the music itself, talking about the different things, you know, breaking down the beats and talking about what's good and what's bad and what could be improved and whatnot, trying to be constructive with all the criticism. So I'm going to leave some of that, and people in the chat room are also going to leave some of that, which is awesome. So that's the concept. Send beats to this show and we're going to play it, and you're going to be featured and we're going to talk about stuff. Normally we get around 15 beats or something like that. Today I think we're doing a little bit less because I think I want to keep this to pretty much 2 hours. I'm noticing that people keeps dropping off and it takes too long and it's slow and whatever. To me too, not just to the audience and the numbers and whatever. I just we got to have some type of time frame going on. I've said 2 hours, but it's never been 2 hours. It's always been like 3. Today, I don't think so. Now, the next logical question is, how do I send my beats into the show? How do I go about this? Oh, I have 84 emails. Why? Yeah, something is wrong with the sync from my phone because I've read all of these. Whatever. How do you send in your beats? Yeah, I'm glad you asked. That's a great question. If I can just find the right thing here. Yeah. No. That's the one. Cool. www, that's the World Wide Web, .accuratebeats.com. Accuratebeats.com is my website where you're able to submit your music. And someone told me last week that everyone doesn't have the fastest internet in the world, so just having the thing open for a couple of minutes doesn't work for everyone because it takes a minute to upload the beat and whatever. So today we're not doing it like that. Normally I leave it open for a couple of minutes and I get beats and I listen to everything, single one of them in order. And today that's not what we're doing. I'm trying this new thing and I haven't really thought much about this, but it makes sense considering everyone doesn't have the fastest internet connection in the world and you're not able to go there for the first couple of minutes. So I'm going to leave it open for 10, maybe 15 minutes and then choose beats that came in randomly. So just because you send your beat in, it doesn't mean that you're going to get featured. I'm still going to roll the dice and, just pick ones randomly. Which is maybe a worse system, but also maybe more inclusive because, everyone doesn't have the same internet speed and this is not going to be a challenge of how fast you are. That doesn't make sense. So today we're doing this differently. And I know that doesn't make sense if you kind of was here waiting for it. I'm not perfect. This concept is not perfect. Nothing is perfect. Nothing is even good. Honestly, the world is coming to an end. And that's a whole different topic that we're not going to touch on. What are you guys saying? Does this sound like the worst idea ever? Maybe. Help me out in the chat room. How does that sound? Me opening up the floodgates and then just selecting beats randomly. Random is never a good system, but for the inclusion part of everything, to me it makes sense. So I need to do some adjustments on my website to actually open up the form because I haven't done that before going live because I'm stupid. And that's just what it is, honestly. The first page on the website isn't updated either. Let's just take the date out. That's fine. So I'm excited about this, and I think it's cool to do this in a different way, kind of. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to cover music from people who doesn't have the fastest internet. I don't know if that's, to me it just makes sense. It seemed like a good idea, and that's what we're going to do this week. Okay? But now, let's open up this thing. Send beats here. Activate. Over there. Which means I'm not going to make a big thing out of this. Right now, it should be opened. Let me just double check. accuratebeats.com. So you go to accuratebeats.com, you click beat review, you go to the page, and then you have this big thing saying send text, send beats here. Click, submit your track, and it has to be an MP3 file or some kind of compressed file because it can't do anything more than 10 megabytes. That's not my bad, that's Squarespace. Not the sponsor of this video. But limitations. So, the form is open. You can go to the website right now, accuratebeats.com down here. Submit your beat say something nice, and tell me your name, your artist name, and that's pretty much all we need. Then we're going to play music and listen to it and whatever. And I'm not going to sit around and wait for 10 to 15 minutes. No, we're going to start. We are. But yeah, chat room. What are people are saying? We're going to listen to some dope beats while the world burns. 100%. That's what we're going to do. The whole, burning of the world, that's above us. We can't do anything about that. Your show, your rules. Yeah, that means you don't like it. I know, that's fine. Testing things out, sure. You're doing this show. I have no right annoying you with my opinions on how to send beats. No, maybe not. But I'm also kind of asking, whatever you feel like. Yeah, no one seems to be upset about it, but someone sent me an email about this, or DM or whatever it was. I think it was Stan Solo, but I'm not sure. I don't think it was because of what you said in the chat room. Whatever. Someone just had a struggle sending their beat in because I closed the form before it even got uploaded. And to me, that's not who I want to be. That's not what I want to do. I want to make this as inclusive of a show as possible. And to me, just giving more people the opportunity to at least send in your beats makes sense. And if your beat got sent in and I received it and it's still not played, is that the end of the world? Maybe not. Let's not take this too seriously. It's just a forum for us to share music and talk about things. Be nerdy and geeky about all the details that goes into the magical art form of producing music. Carbon Vibes just dropping by to show support for accurate beats. Gotta go back to my parental duties. Sure, do that. Much love and respect. Cool. I finally got around to submitting one, says Blake Superior. That's nice. That's good. I want everyone who wants to participate in this project of mine to be able to do so. Can I promise that I'm going to listen to everything and going to play everything? No, of course not. That's not possible because previous times, now we have less viewers than sometimes, but we had some shows where I had the thing open for 2 or 3 minutes and I got 20 beats. 20 is too much to cover in one single episode, and that puts me in this position. In this case now, I can just pick whatever beat I want to play and just go through stuff however I want to. Puts less stress on me, less stress on you. Is it as open to everyone and as democratic and inclusive? Maybe not. Talking about 20 beats. Right now we have 20 beats in the inbox. And we have 44 people watching, which means that pretty much half of you has submitted a beat. Given that there's also going to be a few duplicates and, maybe some empty emails and stuff. But still, now we're up to 21. So yeah, I'm going to leave it open for a bit more, and let's play the first beat and get into this beat review business. I also got to be honest that I had a spider down here before, and I found one and killed that one. I'm super afraid of spiders, so don't start making any jokes about anything either. That's not going to be appreciated. But I saw one. It got away, and then I saw another one, and I hope it's the same one because I got that one. But if a spider just shows up in here, I might just run out of the room and just close everything down after. I don't know. So if I'm a little bit like that, a little bit tensed and whatever, please understand that it's just me and my super illogical, irrational fear. I'm in a basement of a house that's like 100 years old, so it is what it is. Now, let's get into this. So instead of just starting at the top of the thing, I'm just going to go pretty much randomly here. I could just have a number generator helping me out, but as well I could just do this. Oh, that camera. I could just do whatever and pick that one. You know, it's as random as it's going to be. People are saying, let's go. I think it's a dope idea. Throw your name in a hat. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's going to be random. And a part of me wants to, like, should I avoid people that has been featured a lot of times? No, I haven't said anything about that, so maybe not. I'm just going to pick emails. Let's do this one. From boom, download. Seems to work. So, the first beat for today is made by someone called Joel Salmei. Joel Salmei. First beat submission. I am prod by Jorb. And in YouTube, I'm Grabno. Okay, cool. The beat has been downloaded. We need to open up VLC. We need to import that. Okay, no. We need to empty that playlist. Create another one. Oh, there we go. Sounded good just straight off the bat. Do I post my tune in here? No, you don't. You gotta go to my website, accuratebeats.com, down here. On the website, there's a place for beat review. Go there and just submit your beat in there. It's going to be random, whoever gets picked or not. But you're still able to submit. That also feels good to be able to say on the show. As we're doing this, you're still able to submit a beat, you know? You're not lowering your chances to be featured or anything. It's just send it in. So, the first beat for today comes from Joel Salmei, or Prod by Jorb on YouTube. No. Grabno on YouTube. Prod by Jorb on other social media, I guess. Let's go. That's it. Thanks a lot. That's a cool little track. That's not even 2 minutes long. That's 1 minute and 5 seconds. Which maybe is a good thing because we didn't have a lot of variation going, but we still got the general idea of the track and what you kind of did. You know, I've said this a few times now, like backbeaty reggae kind of vibes is not really something I go for myself, but I'm not going to hate on everything that has an element on the backbeat. Yeah, we can't be that concise and that obvious about it. This is good. And to me, just the fact that you don't have a hi-hat whatsoever in there gives the entire vibe of the thing like an open and loose kind of vibe and situation, which is cool. If we had like an 8-note hi-hat or even a 16-note one, the energy level would be something completely different. maybe for the worse in this case. Nice and relaxed, a heavy bass line, and that emphasis on the backbeat, together with some pretty basic but cool sounding drums. A drone in the background, and then a bunch of what I choose to call air candy. You know, small like this. Small sound effects that goes on top of it. Goes a long way. The bass line is rock solid, and the entire like sonics of the track is nice. The bass line stands out more than anything else, but sure, you could probably develop this one step further and by just adding things. Sound effects takes you only so far, you know. Adding a few chords, a few notes, traces of a melody that goes along with the bass line, because the notes in the bass line, that's a solid, you know, it's a minor. Small dropouts like that is also really effective. But sure, you could add some Rhodes pianos or some chords from something else, some flute or some organ or whatever. Maybe adding some sample chops on top of it, talking from my perspective. But it's a nice start, as Beat Owl is pointing out. A nice way to start this little live stream. Nothing too nothing too complete, nothing too complicated, nothing too advanced. Nice and simple, a solid idea for a bass line together with some drums and some sound effects. And also what I'm calling a drone here, like the note in the background. It's not much in terms of musicality, but it still fills up the sound spectrum here in a way that's really pleasing. Really pleasing. And yeah, you know, a 1 minute loop like this, it's a little bit repetitive and it's not going to offer too much in terms of variation and stuff like that. Still though, it's a nice solid listen. It makes you feel good. It has a vibe and everything sits right in the mix, according to me. Let's just get started. And in a piece of music like this, it's really obvious that if you would have taken that single drone note out, it would be super empty. As well as if you took the backbeat kind of but if you took that out, it would also be really empty and lifeless. And everything here complements one another and creates this fullness, even though it's not full. You could add even more. Do you have to? Yeah, maybe if you want to make it more interesting in the long run. But, you know, it is what it is. For what it is, I think this is solid. And again, personally, I'm not huge on the reggae vibe, but that's me. It's a nice and chill beat, nicely balanced, and a good production overall. Thank you for submitting that one, Joel Salmei. We appreciate that one. Thanks. Thank you. Now let's check out another one. As the list gets smaller, it's going to be harder to pick one and be totally random about it because I'm really reading words. Let's try to avoid reading words whatsoever and just go with that one. Cool. Nagels Berles. Something like that. Hi, I'm from Lithuania. I don't make beats. I'm more into ambient and electronic music. Some experimental beat made with the Pocket Operator 24. It's like a jam type beat. Cool. From Lithuania. We haven't had a lot of submissions from Lithuania before, I think. So that's nice. Load it up. Let's take that one out, right? Boom. And over here, let's have a listen. It's not a beat, it's more experimental stuff, more of a jam. Let's play 2 minutes of it, even though it's 3:45. Okay, I think that's it. Produced on the Pocket Operator 24, the PO24 from Teenage Engineering, which is a limited device in many ways, but you're still able to do some cool tracks on it, for sure. This specific track was, it has a little bit of an 8-bit kind of vibe to it, even though it's more than that. A lot of 8-bit kind of samples. And you took a quick little short sequence of music and made it into something way bigger, which is always impressive to hear. But when it all comes down to it, it's pretty much a 2-bar loop. At least that goes for the main melody thing. It's not bad, and it's fun, and it's cool. When it comes to the sound and the sample choices you made here, sure, it's gonna sound like, it's gonna be what it is. It's not gonna sound like the most huge and massive thing ever, because it's in a specific kind of genre. I do appreciate the rhythmical aspects of this one a lot, because there's a lot of notes going on, a lot of short sounds that just cuts each other off and creates this fun and intriguing rhythm section, even though it's all melodic, And a lot of those punch-in effects that you're getting with all the Pocket Operators. Super inspiring stuff to listen to, and like watching you make that one on the Pocket Operator would be awesome and super cool. But I haven't used Pocket Operators much myself, I gotta be honest, but I have one of them, or two, I think. And I've played around with them and I've done a few things here and there. And one of the problems is to create longer sequences of music and create variation and stuff that kind of evolves over time. I'm not saying that it's impossible, because it's not, but it's not the easiest thing in the world. So I think you took a kind of simple little idea and just developed it to a place where it's interesting and fun. This type of bass line, this type of bass drum, the kick drum here. My bad. Heavily distorted, a lot of bass going boom. It's cool. Someone like me gets bored of a time with stuff like that. It's impressive and cool and distorted and like all in your face and like punchy, but a minute in it becomes fatiguing somehow. But that's me and my, I'm a producer myself and I make music in a different genre, and I think that's cool because I think that's cool, and I do what I do for a reason, but this is interesting. This is really, really interesting. And how you manage to play around with the punch-in effects to create stutters that makes the melody a little bit different, that's where it's at for me. That's what makes this one interesting and fun. Because the loop itself is what it is, but you're managing to do a lot with it just by the effects and the different stuff going on in the background. And creating different sections, even though there's not really different sections in terms of the musical values or whatever, but it becomes that because of the stutters and the repeating notes and everything. Taking stuff out of the mix, bringing them back, that goes a long way too. Interesting and fun and cool. Maybe for a video game, but of course that's what I'm gonna say because it sounds like a video game. But imagine this for like an old school type of game you play in your browser or whatever. Not necessarily something on the NES because it doesn't sound like that, but awesome. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's cool. Someone asks about my camera. Both my cameras are Sony CVE10 with different lenses. This is like a really wide angle lens. That's the normal 16, the Sigma 16 millimeter. OBS, capture cards, all that stuff. It's a jungle, but I managed to get a decent setup that makes everything look kind of cool. Even though that light is too bright right now for the settings. I want to figure that out, but not for this right now. Cool. Let's get into another one. Let's refresh the thing. We now have 25 beats to choose from. And I played 2, so 23 then. 23 pieces of music. We could have a lot of fun here. Let me go down here. Let's take that one. From Gilbert. I'm going to say Gilbert Gecko. Thanks for another beat review accurate. I hope you're doing well. The track is called 3/6 Bounce. So this could be interesting in terms of time signatures that I don't really understand much of myself, but you guys seem to understand those things better than me. So let's play this one for the community and let's see what people have to say about it. Boom. nice and laid back and kind of, a hopeful, happy, kind of positive vibe. I live in Sweden, and right now we're enjoying springtime a lot. There's a lot of bird sounds going on, and there's a lot of endorphins and stuff. Things are looking better now than ever in terms of the positivity not in the world. We just said the opposite of that, but it's a nice time to be alive in the springtime in Sweden, and this beat feels like it fits that vibe nicely. It's nice and happy and laid back and chill and cool. Sure, a part of me feels like, yeah, I understand the thing with the bird sounds, the stuff in the background, but it's pretty loud to me. I'm getting a little bit too much birds. You know what I'm saying? Sure, ambient kind of non-musical sounds has a part to play, for sure. In this case, it's a little bit too obvious, maybe. But what stands out here to me is one, the bass line hitting hard on the rhythm like that makes it punchy and cool and uplifting and kind of dance vibey, But also the relationship between the notes on the bass line and the chords being a little bit off and a little bit pitchy like that. It's really nice and cool. There is some type of pitch modulation going on in that main instrument, and it works really well together with the bass line, and in its entirety, it just creates this nice and loose and opened up vibe that I really enjoy. And that bass line that goes really rhythmically well with the drums, and the drums are just boom, ka, boom, ka, boom, super straightforward like that. There's a lot of swing and a lot of feeling going on, but the pattern is still 1, 2, 1, 2. And the notes and everything just playing with that. It feels playful and nice and cool. I'm thinking happy thoughts. It's not that it's stupid. It's just happy in a grown-up, kind of nice, hopeful type of way. Music evokes all that. That's the magic of the thing. Yeah, it is. Illinois says, makes you want to whistle. Does it? I can't whistle anymore. At all. I just can't whistle. I used to, but with the stuff going on, I can't. Does this make you want to whistle? Yeah, it does. The birds might play a part in that, but yeah, the musicality of this is just, it brings out that kind of joy, James Rockwell says, 45 with a bum back. I no longer make it to open gym. I always threw a couple of dollars to the host for a few hours of good fun. That is what it is. Thanks, James Rockwell, for the super chat of $5. Appreciate that. Thank you, man. That's cool. So yeah, this show is not monetized. It's not sponsored in any way. So helping me out with the super chat or a follow or subscription or becoming a member is valuable or valued. For sure. Blake Superior says I could study to that. Like reading a book and taking notes and stuff to this. Ding, ding. It's nice. the relationship between the notes of the bass line and the main instrument being a little bit pitchy like that, it's easy to get that kind of relationship wrong and go too crazy with the pitch modulation, and then everything just becomes a mess. But you kept it together in a really nice way. Good job. Who was this? This was sent in from Gilbert Gecko. Gilbert Gecko. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. We are now 3 beats in to this Monday night live show. Monday night, my time. I know. It's going to be different for everyone. And I'm noticing that some people are watching these or listening to or whatever these shows after the fact, which is definitely a valid way to consume media. We now have 28 beats. So during the next play, I'm going to close the form down because it doesn't make sense to have too much to or does it? To me right now, the way I think about it, it doesn't make sense to have too many beats to go through because, the more beats we have, the less your chance to be chosen will be. And we got to set the bar somewhere. So I'm going to close it down as we listen to the next track. And the next track is going to be This Is Not Fair. Everyone needs to be shown in a list like that. So let's go with that one. Cool. This is someone who has been featured before. Leonardo Baso says, I was bored while studying for my university exam. I opened up Reaper and I made this one real quick. Cool. So if you need to study for an exam, maybe you should study for the exam, but taking a break to be a little bit creative is never a bad thing. Leonardo Baso, let's go. Okay, cool. I think we had Leonardo Baso last week too, with also a submission that's not a beat, more music in the broader sense of the word, This is a nice palate cleanser. Now we haven't had a lot of boom bappy beats just yet, but something like this is never a bad thing to consume. A nice little piano thing over top of a pad sound. And of course, being a hip-hop beat maker myself, I'm hearing all sorts of different ways to flip this one and use it as a sample. Maybe that's not what the purpose is here. And a lot of people in the chat room are pointing out some cool things. Sounds like... No, let's see. Water level music in a video game. Final Fantasy... Okay, so a video game like Final Fantasy or something like that, and a water level. I know there's not water levels in Final Fantasy, but you know what I'm saying. What's really cool about this, I'm not smart enough and I'm not good of a keyboard player enough to say anything valuable about this, but the change from one key to another is really drastic. Just playing a note that really doesn't fit in there and then evolving into that new key is really, really cool. Doing that in hip-hop is borderline impossible to make it sound nice. But for something like this, it's just that note was unexpected and then everything takes a turn. And that's nice and beautiful, and I do appreciate that a lot. But there is some movement going on in the pad sound in the background that wants me to hear some drums on this. There's a pulse, there's a beat, there's a feeling. Maybe not necessarily in the piano part itself, but the piano together with the pad that goes so nicely together, and the pad has this movement that's rhythmical. Chopping it up on those beats and just making some drums for it would make a lot of sense, for sure. And the piano is beautiful. And it's really hard to say anything like this in just this case, but it feels like it's maybe not the highest quality piano sample instrument. I know there are a lot of great ones from Native Instruments and some ones from Arturia and whatever too. That makes, a piece of music like this stand out even in an even higher level when it comes to the sonics and the audio quality of it. I'm not saying that the piano sound is bad, but I think it could be better and feel more genuine, Is that a tremolo on the pad? I don't know if it is. Is it a tremolo? Could very well be a tremolo. Could be. That one. What's cool about that is that the unexpected note comes first, and then you have the change up in the pad. So it feels like, what happened there? That was wrong. And then it immediately takes you to yeah, that makes sense. And that's cool. That's cool. I want to see people using that type of tricks and that kind of stuff in beats too. Just because you have a bass line and some heavy drums on it doesn't mean that you can't go a little bit strange with the notes sometimes. Whatever, we can't talk about this one for hours. This was a nice piece of music from Leonardo Baso, and we all appreciate it. It's a nice palate cleanser and makes us think about music in a different way. I like it. I think it's fun. Now, let's move on to another one. Let's go with this one. Form submission. Okay, that's what it is. Artist name here is Mo Sapian Mitch. The email says, "Hey man, keep up the good work. I am Mo Sapian from Chamonix, Mont Blanc, France. I salute you." And I can't speak French for shit. I can't. So I don't know what I was trying to say, but this is a beat from France. Sapian Mitch. Let's go.
Is this how you see the future? All the colors and lights, lights decorating the street.
So we have a little bit of darkness going on, right? That's dope stuff. Now we're back to beats with drums and bass line and samples and everything. This type of darkness appeals to me a lot, especially these days when things are a little bit upside down, you know. This is nice, well produced, well put together. 1 minute and 39 seconds felt like half a minute, you know. And the drum programming here being sloppy like that works together with everything else. Sometimes a lot of people are just these days into making super sloppy, drunken style drums without making that kind of feeling consistent over the entire piece of music. In this case, there is a little bit something going on that makes it feel strange and odd, and we have all these scary types of sounds. You know, everything here is every single sound in this case, in this beat, could be taken out of the track and just put into a horror movie. That's what it feels like to me. The beat itself is not that like evil and dark, but the different sounds, everything is just horror movie stuff. Alfred Hitchcock kind of vibe to it. Nice. The drums goes really well together with everything else. The bass line. We've had a lot of beats in this series over the years, over the months, where people go a little bit crazy with the bass line, making the bass line way too loud or way too quiet and whatever. This feels nice and balanced. It has everything it needs, and it's just cool. It's just a vibe. Really cool drum programming, a really nice groove behind it all. And that groove together with those samples constructed that way just makes the entire thing cool. I don't think I have any more words for this one. It feels a little bit dark and scary, but cool. Cool is my my main word about this one. It's cool. Bring. You know, building a loop, just looking at a 4-bar section of this beat still has a lot of dynamics in terms of the volume and the feel of things. The bass line could be really energetic and really like punchy, but in this context, it's not, because we also have a lot of space, a lot of air filling up the track itself. And that's beautiful to me. Keeping things simple is one thing, but this is not just simple. This is well thought through and well put together, because it's nice and full, but it's not too busy. Anywhere. And there could still be space enough for a rapper to like go a little bit evil, or maybe just keeping it instrumental. Sometimes we talk about that. Is this beat made for a rapper in mind, with a rapper in mind, or with an artist of any sort, or is it just made as an instrumental? And this case, I think, works as well like an instrumental as it would for a rapper. And that's saying something. A nice and solid dark beat from most Sapian Mitch from France. I love that. The drums stands out, the bass line stands out, but the overall way you put the whole thing together is really impressive. Awesome stuff. I appreciate it, and thanks a lot for submitting this beat to this show today. Awesome. And someone, of course, says Doom. MF Doom works on beats like this. I know. We can't talk about MF Doom in every single episode. That becomes boring, and we are getting member. I'm not sure what this is. Shorty87 has been a member for a month and says, fresh shit, I'm a bouncing. That's not a super chat. That's a specific type of chat you're getting if you're a member, I think. That's awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, I'm still coughing, by the way. Coughing just because I'm soon about to enter a coffin. Not soon, but sometime. Serato? No, we don't need to start Serato right now. That's not what we're doing. I listened to MF Doom today at work. Yeah, we all did. Always. MF Doom is, it's not enough good things to say about MF Doom. That beat has been checked as read. Cool. Now let's keep scrolling this inbox. Go for that one. Sixton. Someone called Sixton Gustavson, which is a Swedish name. Sixton Gustavson. Cool. I don't know if you accept links. No, I don't. Sorry. That's not going to be no. We're not doing links. SoundCloud links, YouTube links, anything. At least send in your beat the way you're supposed to, Sixton, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to. I need to put down a line. Let's instead go for someone up here. Maybe this one. Martin Massive says, here we go again. And here we go again. Gotta go to the Temple of Consumption. Right? Yeah. Martin Massive, let's go. Another evil one. Yeah, cool. Another grimy, evil one. That's nice. That's nice. But for the first time today, I think I'm going to comment on the mixing a little bit. I understand that this is supposed to be grimy and dark and kind of, evil. But I'm not a big fan of like the whole, trying to push everything to the limit and making everything as loud and as crispy as possible. Fine, I understand that everyone doesn't go for that, including me, But comparing this piece of music to other stuff, I mean, if I heard this one on Spotify and the next track was, an Eminem track or whatever, this one would probably have a little bit of trouble to stand out because it's pretty flat when it comes to the EQ. There's a lot of stuff going on in the bass and the lower mids and the mids and stuff. And, how the low frequencies here, how the bass is mixed is really well done, for sure. But we don't have a lot of crispiness. We don't have a lot of stuff going on in the upper registers. And I get that that's the point behind all this. I know. That's you wanted to do it like this, and that's totally valid. I'm just saying, comparing this one to something else, like produced by, high-level musicians, this one would probably just become background music. It's hard to pay attention to something like this compared to other musicians and producers, mixing engineers and whatever. You can make stuff that's still grimy and hard and dark, but also having an EQ curve that makes the higher frequencies, the treble and what else, make more sense. I'm not saying that this is bad though. Definitely not. And it's a creative choice. I get that, and everyone's allowed to do whatever they do. Fine. But having a little bit more treble going on in there wouldn't hurt, I think. I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass. Beat me, whatever. Fight me, whatever, not beat me. And that section that we nailed right here, that addition to this track makes the entire thing way better than without it. This section right here is dope, but it's dark and it's maybe a little bit too grimy for my taste. And then we have this, just listen. I think it's right here. And maybe that's what I'm talking about in terms of frequencies and stuff. That element going on right in there just makes a whole lot of sense and transform this entire beat to something else to me. You don't need to do that too much. I'm not talking about overworking it or whatever, but that thing in there, it's genius. And it goes really well with the bass line. And, the drums on this one, this is just great. All I'm trying to say is that it could be a little bit more crispy or shiny or whatever in the top frequencies. How? I don't know. Maybe just EQ. I don't know. And yeah, Martin, I know you put some reverb on the snare, but for a production like this, it's not the same thing. I've talked a lot about not liking reverb on snares, and I stand by that. But in this type of context, it's something else. You're using the reverb as, the reverb is just becomes a part of the snare drum that makes sense. I'm talking about adding reverb on a snare just because, I want to add some reverb to the snare, whatever. No. In this case, it feels like the reverb sample itself has the snare sample itself has a reverb on it. And that's a different thing. Impossible for me to try to explain what's what, but you know. What I'm trying to say is that I don't have a problem with the reverb on the snare in this case. No snare reverb? I don't even know. I think there is. Well. Martin says, I appreciate the feedback. I definitely have a lot to learn when it comes to mixing. Me too. I'm not sitting here trying to be more than anyone else. You know, my music sucks most of the time. I know. But just as a fresh ear, a new type of listener, I'm just noticing that it's muddy is not the right word. This mix is not muddy. It just needs a little bit of contrast by adding some stuff up there. I think you used reverb on the whole drum bus. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why it sounds natural. Impressive stuff for sure. Yeah, and I'm sorry for dying on the stream. That's just what it is. And this one came in from Martin Massive. Thanks a lot for submitting. Love it. And the track is called, I'm noticing right just now, Frukostpils. That's a weird way of spelling breakfast beer, I guess. Let's keep scrolling. Yeah. The list now has 28 submissions. Minus the ones we played. Everyone needs to be shown on the list. It's still not an optimal situation, but let's do this one. What are the odds? Okay. We're back to Sixton. Sixton Gustavson also submitted the right way that you're supposed to. And I just picked you again. He sent a link and I'm not doing that, but he also sent it the right way. So, Sixton Gustavson. Hey, I'm from Sweden, Malmö. Malmö. Yeah. This is a sample beat I made in Ableton. Thanks for the chance to get some feedback. Timeislost.mp3. So, you actually submitted the way I want you to submit, which puts you in the hat where we're drawing the beats. Sixton Gustavson, Malmö, let's fucking go! Sometimes it feels really good to be from Sweden and having submissions coming in from Sweden on this level. Awesome stuff. Thank you. What was your name? Sixton? Sixton Gustavson. I think that's what it was. I want to make sure that it's not. Where am I? Okay, I lost track of things. Fuck. How could I lose him? There we are. That's the wrong way and that's the right way. Cool. Sixton Gustavson, that's the name. Sixton has great taste in music in general, I guess. This is a dope beat in every sense of the word. But also, Sixton has a great taste when it comes to kick drums. Pay attention to the kick. I mean, everything here is cool. The side chaining going on, the sample chops, the different sections, everything. But what stands out for me as a producer here is the kick drum and how it's used. Nice and vibey, laid back, choppy. It has pretty much everything. Really, really cool. When I'm listening to music in this way, trying to pick things apart, I'm trying really heavily to focus on different sections. Like focus my energy on the drums. What's going on with the drums? Moving on to the bass line. What's going on with the bass line? How does everything, go together? And I can't really find anything here that I don't like, personally. Me, having subjective opinions about music. This part, this section right here, the breakdown. Going back to this. And that section right there could be really repetitive if that was the entire track. Nice and solid and well produced, for sure, but still repetitive if we didn't have anything else, but we do have something else, which makes the entire thing just cool and nice. A lot of dynamics, a lot of chops going on, nothing taking too much space in the mix. The drums being what they are and everything being side-chained like this. We could talk about this one for weeks. The switch up, the change around, the basic like jammy part of this. Like the bass line is dum dum ba dum 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 ba dum dum dum. Kind of repetitive, but that together with all the stuff that sticks out a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, not in terms of panning, I don't know about that, but still, it's a great piece of work. Let me try to find something to complain about. Love that guitar, that little dum 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 dum. Nice. nice. Vimpy610 is in the chat room, and that's Sixton saying thanks a lot. Cool. Super clean production, nice put together in every way. I can't find anything to complain about. And I normally always find something. But because of the switch up and the bridge part and everything, it's just awesome. But again, the kick drum. That kick sample is, putting in a lot of work. And the hi-hat pattern, Man, you got this one down, Sixton. Thanks a lot. Yeah, the switch chip is really musical. And it is. Maybe that's just, picking a good sample and whatever. But the amount of work you put in here is awesome. I salute you. That's just great work. Sixton. Thanks a lot for sending this one in the right way, the way I want you to do it, because I'm not following links, that's just too big of a risk to do. Getting an MP3 like this, that sounds like this, from a guy in Sweden, just makes this guy happy, Let's utilize this camera just a little bit, because we have it, right? Yeah. Coughing. Sixton Gustavson, boom, you have been played and you have been praised. Trying to find things to complain about is, I just think that's fun. But in this case, I can't find anything, so let's just move along. Great job. I appreciate it. Thank you. Sixton for president. Let's find another one. In the email, 28 of them. Let's go. And whenever I do that, I need to refresh the thing. Is this really 28 emails? It doesn't feel like it. Now we have 28. Cool. This one. No, okay. That's not a piece of music you made. That's not going to be played. I'm sorry. Reading the email sometimes is super necessary because, sending me inspiration beats that you haven't made yourself maybe sounds like a cool thing, but it doesn't fit into this this concept. That's not what we do. We want to hear something you made, okay, that's Sixton again. Boom. Let's play this track right here from Hannibal Actor, Beat Owl. This time, not just an old jam. And the beat is called Toy Box. Cool. Beat Owl. Let's see what you sent us this week. Beat Owl has been played a lot, and he's going to be played again because it's random, and Beat Owl gives us a lot of cool things. Gives us a lot of cool stuff. The last note right there showed us exactly what you did. Let's play the last note again. Ringing out with that extra little, and a pitch down envelope. Awesome stuff. What surprised me of this production in general was the snare sample. Not being like, not, and not either. But just, more like, I guess, but a tiny one. That's a creative choice. I feel like I know this guy by now, Beat Owl. Being like super predictable and being super predictable in the way you chose your snare sample is what I do. I do what's expected from the beat, 9 times out of 10. In this case, it feels like you kind of did that choice super actively. We have the huge kick drum and also the shaker sample or whatever that is, placed a part of a hi-hat, and then you just switched it up with a different type of snare drum. I would not have picked that snare drum myself. You did, and it worked. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I'm just saying that it's interesting to do that to make that choice, But this track in its entirety, it has a nice balance between like the harmonics and the melodic stuff going on with the bigger stuff in the background, and then the super high-pitched melody sounds that breaks the entire thing apart. Interesting. Well produced and interesting. So many interesting textures going on in the background. I'm not calling out how you made this one, but there is this Native Instruments plugin called something. UVI made a version of pretty much the same thing just a month ago. That just generates really interesting samples. You can like take different parts and put them together, and it creates notes and chords and stuff. Using that as a basic sound designing tool for creating samples to flip is a really cool way. I'm gonna make a video on that someday, but it feels like you might have used that one. And I can't remember what it's called. So I don't even know if what I'm saying makes sense. Whatever, however you did this one, wherever the samples comes from, it's put together in a way that gives you a vibe and a sensation and a feeling that's really pleasing, The snare sound is, to me, an odd choice, but not a bad one. But the different textures going on with the sound design here and the melody that goes on top is what makes this one make sense. You see that? Interesting chords too, for sure. Beat Owl says kinetic toys from Native Instruments. Use that a lot on this track. Kinetic toys is also one of those instruments that really, like, some of the presets and some of the sounds in there really cuts through any type of mix at all in a really pleasing way. And if it's that you used, that you say, it's nice. Playbox. Yeah, Salbert points it out. Playbox is what I'm talking about. You did not use Playbox for this. You used Kinetic Toys, which is just a normal kind of VST plugin, which is an awesome one, by the way. But the way you used it for this one is really cool. I like this. I do like this. It has this nice and dreamy kind of vibe to it, and everything with like bells or, plucked sounds. I lost the word for a second. Plucked sounds and like high pitched stuff that cuts through like this, and reverb and a lot of like atmosphere makes things sound dreamy. And the melodies, I mean, it feels cinematic in a really cool way. Not Playbox. No. I know, you did not use Playbox, but still. To me, it kind of sounds like it could have been made using that. I'm wrong. That's also... needed reverb at 100% wet and 80% mix on the snare. No, nothing ever needs that. Nothing. Beat Owl made a banger yet again and sent it in, and you know. And all those in the background when everything else is... You know, a lot of us are using like pitch down LFOs like that, or pitch down effects in general, whenever we do like a breakdown or something. Everything is nice and loud and, you know, consistent, and then it goes... In this case, you use that as a background thing while playing everything else. Nice. Nice. Beat Owl, how about a little solo? How about the little solo at the middle part? Oh yeah. That's nice. It is nice. I also heard a little bit of vocoder and stuff in here. I mean, this is an interesting piece of music with a lot of things going on. Impossible to like mention everything. But sure, this little solo section in the middle here, it makes a lot of musical sense and it's cool. This is like 8 bars, I think. If it was more, it would have been too much. So I think you nailed it. The right amount of notes, the right notes in not too long of a period of time. Wow, putting words together could be difficult sometimes. But yeah, the synth solo made the entire thing even cooler. Awesome. Now my Windows has been realigned. Okay, there we are. Beat Owl. Cool. And we have played, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 beats, which is something. Let's go for a few more, right? Let's take this one. HBR36, high accurate. Last week I sent you a dark and grimy beat, but this week I wanted to share with you something more positive and groovy. I tried new stuff, start exploring time signatures. Whoa. I'm switching from 4/4 on the first pattern to 7/4 on the second. Whoa, okay, that sounds too complicated for a stupid one like me. But let's have a listen and see if we can understand that. He went from 4/4 to 7/4. Let's see if we can trace that. Cool. So the pulse is still there. We still have that like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, but in a different feel when you switch to 4/7, or the other way around. Let's jump in over here and let's think about this. Okay. Sure. So I might not understand this, but the way it feels cut off, but still on beat, you know? Sometimes switching time signatures, trying to be all complicated, going from one to another, just becomes difficult to listen to. In this case, it's not, because you still have the same like pulse, but whenever you expect the snare, you're getting a kick, you know? But and that's interesting and all. It is. Don't misunderstand me. It feels straight and nice and straightforward, but you still get cut off, but you're still landing on the same thing. So it still feels it feels good. You know, it still feels like home. Nothing becomes too crazy or unexpected. But in terms of the overall... What happened? Something happened. Let's check. No. This is not bad. This is good. In many ways, this is good. But a part of me feels like you could have done more, you know? There's a difference between beat production and like a normal band. I know. But sometimes whenever I do stuff that feels a little bit more organic, like this one, I tend to think, to myself at least, does this make sense from a band kind of perspective? And this almost does. So you have a drummer, you have someone on the bass guitar, and then you have an electric guitar doing the boom, like a funk kind of pitch down thing. But still, if this was a band, you would probably have something else. You know, a lead part of some sort. Because the bass line and that type of guitar riff, that's like a background. That's like the backing band for something else. If I'm not making myself totally impossible to understand. Imagine this band on a stage. You would have a drummer going like, yeah, a really nice drum groove, nothing to complain about. And you also have the bass line going, ho. Boom, bow, boom, 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 bow, boom, 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 bow, down, boom, boom. Nice, that's a solid bass line for sure. And then the guitar player just follows along. But you would have something else, like someone on the flute, or maybe some Rhodes piano goes with this vibe too, like playing chords, doing something that kind of, I'm looking for a specific word here, but another musician that complements the entire stuff that's going on. Maybe like a lead instrument, a solo player of some sort, in like a jazz, kind of rock jazzy jam, something like that. And to me, translating that into beat production, it feels like something is missing. Nothing huge, nothing like groundbreaking, nothing that takes this to like crazy heights. You know, just something else that is a little bit more playful. That's more like it. Sometimes I'm trying to think about stuff in terms of like mixing. You know, where do things belong in the frequency range? Drums is all over the place. The bass line is down in the lower frequencies. And in this case, the guitar plays a part somewhere in the middle. But what's left? Yeah, we have the hi-hats and stuff. But still, from a sonic perspective, this is not bad. This is not wrong. I'm just saying I feel like there's space to add something else. You know, this is HBR36 who says in the chat room, what are you saying? I get what you're talking about. Yes. That was the effect I wanted to experiment for the second pattern. Yeah, in terms of the time signature. And that's interesting. And it's fun and it makes the entire thing more fun to listen to. I'm just saying there's space to put something else in. A synthesizer, a flute, an organ, some chords, whatever it might be. Just something else that fills out the space. Because everything makes sense rhythmically, but I just... there's potential to add something more. And I have a hard time explaining why. But it feels like you kind of understand what I'm going for. Please no cowbell. But sure, yeah. A good production and the switch up from time signatures is fun. For sure. Nothing bad to be said about that. Going from 4/4 to 7/4. A part of me wants to experiment more with that myself, but I don't think I have the patience. Because it takes a lot of like zooming out, zooming in, understanding the details, looking at the bigger picture, taking it in, validating your choices like that. It's a lot of work and it's difficult, and you made all the right choices. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Now we have another track, another submission here from someone called Billy Pads, who normally hangs out in the chat room and is pretty active. Billy Pads, have I seen you lately? Billy Pads, good stuff about something, about Beat Owl, I think. So yeah, if you're here, make yourself known, and we're going to play your beat, and you're going to hear my opinions, and I'm going to talk, and people in the chat room are going to help out, because that's what we do. That's what we do. Billy Pads says, "What's up? This is a record I made for my wife. The actual song is on my Spotify called Wanna Be With You, with vocals under Billy Pads. Hope you enjoy." So this is the instrumental version of that. We do appreciate that. Thank you. Let's play Billy Pads. Uno, dos, tres. Yeah. Billy Pads has a nice ear for this stuff. You have been featured before, and I recognize a little bit of that swing on the drum. Okay, maybe I should stop the playback. I recognize that type of swing on the drums. You're doing that really, really well. What's really interesting and sticking out about this one is the details going on in the background with different notes going. It's beautiful. This is really good. From like a normal music listener, I don't know if someone picks up on all this, but as a music producer myself, I'm noticing single thing you did here, and everything is really cool. Especially here at the beginning, I thought about it first. Let's see if we can find it. What I normally call air candy, like sound effects, like sweeps and swooshes and everything going on. That's one thing. You're doing that with actual notes, and everything makes sense in a musical way, and that needs to be appreciated and pointed out. There's a lot of reverb and a lot of cool effects going on with stuff that makes things stand out. Cool. But what's going on in the background with all that stuff is what really makes me want to listen to this beat for, it could have been 6 minutes long and I wouldn't lose interest. Music people often talk about like the relationship between the drums and the bass line is what drives the groove and what makes the entire thing swing and feel groovy. In this case, that's definitely a part of it. But what you're doing with like a time signature synced delay as well, with some of the knickknacks going on in the background, just adds a lot of rhythmical value to stuff that makes sense from a musical perspective in terms of notes too. So we have all the right notes and we have all the right stuff going on in terms of time with delay and filling out the frequency spectrum. Really cool stuff. So you put vocals on this. I guess it's rap for your wife. To me, as an instrumental production, this is, you don't need rap on this one. Everything moves. There's a lot of movement going on in the main chords too. And, it's just a lot of like swing, a lot of groove. This is, if you can't appreciate this, you don't know what music is. Billy Pads, this is great stuff. Great music, just flat out, great music. But as a producer, noticing all the stuff you did and all the time you put into this, and it's great stuff. Billy Pads says, much appreciated. Much appreciated. And you should. I mean, this is flat out great work. This is not just someone who just takes a few samples and just makes it work. You did that and so much more, Very good. Very dreamy and creamy. Sure. A lot of people are saying dreaming vibes. And it was. yeah, the well-made beat. There was a lot of cool sound effects and extra that atmospheres really tingles my ears. Yeah, I mean, everything doesn't always have to be complicated in terms of, yeah, we're doing like all these suspended chords and whatever back and forth. You can take things really far just by producing the hell out of something. And to me, it feels like that's what you did with this one. It's well produced. Peep the actual record if you got time. Maybe I will. Maybe I will after the stream. Just taking a listen to the track itself. You had it available on Spotify, I think. Chrome. Billy Pads. The actual song is on my Spotify under Billy Pads. Cool. Let's check that out afterwards. But I doubt that it's. I don't know how good of a rapper or singer or whatever you are, but if the vocal version is better than what we just heard, I'm just gonna throw in my towel, I guess. Great stuff. Billy Pads, thank you. Thank you. Let's move on to this one. From TDub Music. Says, I appreciate any and all feedback. Peace from Rhode Island, USA. 1 minute, 40-second boom bap. Okay, cool. Music from Rhode Island. Not gonna hate on that. TDub Music. Here we go. Oh. And it just ends. What's up with that? This is a track that just keeps on growing. Honestly speaking, to me it started kind of weak, you know? And then it just grew and grew and grew. And at this point, like at 120, the file is 140, so I didn't cut anything out here. Over here, at this point, feels like we're getting the whole thing. That's nice. And I just want more of it. I just want more. Yeah, we talk about dynamics sometimes, or a lot even. The way a track evolves or what happens with the beat over time. You know, having different sections makes a lot of sense. Dropping instruments out, putting them back in, all that kind of jazz. In this case, we just added. And right before it ended over here, I'm really excited to hear more. Maybe that's what you're aiming for. And in that case, great job, you know, just awesome work. But hearing the track over here, I thought this was everything we got. At this point, I thought, yeah, okay, this is the main section. This is everything we're getting. And then we got all that, you know, impossible to wrap my head around, because it started one way, transformed into something else and into something else and whatever. Over here, like this section over here, feels like you could have done more with the mixing. The vocal sample here from like an Asian record or whatever, it's a little bit loud and everything else is a little bit strangely placed in the mix. But at this point, everything just starts making sense. Like horns or strings or whatever it is. Just, yeah, really cool stuff. Interesting and fun. I want to hear the entire thing. For real. I think this track, the file I got was 1 minute and 40 seconds. And I guess this one is like, you know, if it's 5 minutes, I wouldn't be surprised, you know. And in that case, it would be really cool to see where you keep taking this. Because when so much things is going on and so much stuff is happening, and that's also the cool thing here, because every single switch up and every change that gets introduced makes the thing better to me. Nothing gets like introduced that makes the track worse. So if you keep doing that, what's the piece of music at the end of it? You know, what are we getting at the end? You never know. TDub in the chat says, thank you so much. Well, I mean, yeah. Again, this one is hard because it's so big. It has so much stuff. It covers a lot of ground, you know. Going from according to me, pretty weak to just evolving, just growing. That's the worst section to me. Well, cool stuff. I'm not sure that I love the snare drum, for instance, but you know, we can't pick everything apart like that. When you have a piece of music that evolves this much over time, it's crazy. Great stuff. And we are now, I started like 10 minutes over 8, 10 past 8, and now it's 5 past 10. So let's do one more. Or maybe two more. 2 more beats. Yeah, we're going to play 2 more tracks today. And the first one out of those 2 is going to be this one right here. Stand Solo. Okay, Stand Solo has been featured before and is a member, I think. I'm pretty sure, on the channel. And, you know, Stand Solo seems like a great dude. Says, peace accurate. I'd love to share another one from my EP. It's some street roaming with headphones again. Summer evening, city sounds guiding our steps. SP404 Mark II all the way. I'm glad to have any criticism on it. Much love, Stan Solo. My boy Stan Solo. Here we are. The track is called Parks, and let's have a listen.
Nothing is safe, actually. Nothing is safe in this town. Parks or on streets. I mean, if muggers are going to be on the streets, we'll say they'll float around into the parks also.
Okay, my bad. Stan Solo is not a channel member, but he could as well be, because he's one of the regulars. He's always in here, showing love, submitting beats, giving feedback, everything like that. And we love you for that. This piece of music feels, I mean, every single way of making music is valid and as good as any. You know, I don't hate on Fruity Loops, FL Studio. I don't hate on anything. But some things just has a sound to it. And the SP404 Mark II has a sound to it and a vibe. And if you wouldn't have told me that this one was made on the SP404 Mark II, I think I would have kind of guessed that this was made on the SP404 Mark II, which it is. And that's not a bad thing. And we have a really cool tension going on between the bass line and the drums and the chords. And of course, the city sounds and everything that just creates this whole environment. This is cool. In terms of mixing, again, we're back at this place where I don't want to call things muddy because it's an overused term and it doesn't really say anything. But it feels, has a lot of low frequency energy, let's say that. And you could have done, I mean, everything is a creative choice, I know, but adding some high EQ on this would make it cut through in a different way. This to me is like background, as you said. You described it as like walking in the city type of music, something like that. Street roaming with headphones again. Summer evening, city sounds, guiding our steps. Yeah, that's the exact vibe I'm getting out of this. Playing music on your headphones, walking the city in a summer evening, for sure. Some nice jazz chords. Nice jazz chords and this walking bass line that makes a lot of sense in this context. And the drums being like super hip-hoppy but still laid back in a low tempo. This is good stuff. Atmospheric, cinematic, beautiful. And I can just picture having these different samples on the pads on the SP404, just going boom, ba-dum, dum, 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 da-dum, dum, dum. yeah, it's perfect for what it is. And the way you describe it just makes me like it even more, because if you're trying to make like a radio hit, this is not it, you know? But this is music for your headphones walking in the summer on an evening in the city with, you know, that's just what it is. But bringing this one out in mastering, just giving it a little bit more punch and a little bit more high frequencies, a little bit more clean, making it a little bit cleaner, I don't think it would hurt, you know, but it would make it different. And that's not the vibe you're going for. You're going for this nice and moody, dark kind of... I know what you're saying. I know what you're going for. And I think you made all the right choices in terms of the musicality. And what's fun about this piece of music to me is that, sure, it's built up of loops as everything else, but a part of me just, I'm not thinking of this as repeating loops. It feels like it has more life to it. I don't know why. It's difficult to explain how and why, but it just feels like it has a nice flow to it. This constant forward movement that just makes it elevate, you know? And we're not getting a solid, like, played out melody, but we're getting traces of a melody that makes us fill in the gaps, which is also a really beautiful thing. Stan solo, this is great stuff, hands down. John says, I love how the 8 bars flow smoothly, like meaningful changes keep my attention. Super dialed and focused. Beat is kind of dirty. I like it, but more could be added. Yeah, I don't know if you need to add anything more to this. I just think it's, to me at least, it's more in terms of the mixing and the relationship between the frequencies, the values, you know. The mix isn't muddy at all, but it could be a little bit more energetic, says Beat Owl. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think we should stop using the term muddy. Flat out. It doesn't really mean anything. It just means that it's not crispy or crisp, I guess you're saying. I don't know. In this case, just tweaking an EQ a little bit, just bringing out some stuff with compression or whatever to make it a little bit more in your face. Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Just leaving it low and like low energized and like vibe like this. Super laid back, super cool, super nice. You know, Stan Solo, big up. Big up. And I said I was going to play 2. Stan Solo was the first, so let's do the last beat submission for today. We still have a few more to go. So everyone's not going to be played today. I said that right off the top. And that's what it is. One more. Now, a lot of them has been played. I got more beats that I'm able to play, but still, there are a few ones left. Let's go with this one. Cool. So the last submission for today comes from someone called Wacola. Like Dracula, but really not. Wacola Prod. Wacola Prod. Sure. Some lo-fi rap type of stuff. Lo-fi 2.mp3. Sounds promising. We like lo-fi. We always do. The last beat for today from I need to make sense of this. Wacuola, which becomes Wacuola Prod. Something like that. Let's go. Okay. This is the last beat for today, but I still have a few things I want to say about this one. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on this. I'm not being too like. It's not bad. It's not. I'm not like. I don't want to be too harsh, but still, a few things could be pointed out here. First of all, the hi-hat, too loud. Right off the bat, the hi-hat is too loud in the mix. But I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. We talk a lot about dynamics in terms of the arrangement, but also in terms of what's in the actual loop. Okay? And dynamics could be like... Normally the way I talk about dynamics when we're talking about the context of a loop is the relationship between the different notes in terms of volume and energy and everything. So, to me, this one could be worked on in terms of the dynamics in general. Adding, in terms of music tech, it's normally velocity. Changing the velocity of something makes it less loud, lower in volume. And in this case, we have a lot of stuff that just hammers on the same velocity value over and over and over. That's one of the problems with the hi-hat, for instance. Becomes a little bit, nerve-wracking. Just doing the same pattern but different volumes of the notes would have made given the entire thing more life and more space to breathe. And that goes for everything here. Like the main chord, the piano chords. It's not that it's the same chord. It could be, but it's the same sample or the same velocity setting. Some volume differences would have gone a long way here. Just breathing more life into it by having different volumes of things. Right now it feels like it's one single note repeating over and over. Because the main notes here, the musical parts, it's pretty beautiful. The notes and the melody and everything that goes on in terms of the note values of things, pretty beautiful. But you drop the ball so much by just having everything so... it's a word for that. Having the same... stale, I guess. It's a nice vibe. The entire melody and everything has a nice vibe and it feels pretty beautiful. But you lose some of the vibe and the feeling, the emotion by just going 100% on everything, always. And even that extra sound makes a lot of sense in terms of the harmonics. But since you're looseness with the stale, concise, same repeating volume, it becomes less good than it could be. If that makes sense. Yeah, it's a nice track that needs a little bit more love. Yeah, made so well, pointed it out exactly. It's not bad, but it's... dynamics is an important thing. You never hear a piano player or see a piano player playing the keys. It's always bum ba-dum bum ba-dum bum. I'm not sure this translates over YouTube, but Dale Dempsey asks a question. If you were going to remix it, where would you go with it? If I would have remixed this, like having the entire project, the MIDI notes and everything, that's the first thing I would do. Making sure that there's more breathing room in the different elements, and that one instrument complements the other in a way that makes musical and makes musical sense, and also makes sense in the way of like listening to audio. Having everything going full blast becomes fatiguing. I would also take out a lot of the hits on the piano. Because you're going bam, 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 boom. Just by taking out like half of them, going bam, 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 ba da 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 dum, would just introduce more life and more air into it. Replacing the hi-hat sample with something less energetic, something less stale, and just adding way more dynamics in differences. What's a high volume contrasting to what's a low volume, and just playing around with the relationship between loud and quiet. That could take this really, really far. The kick in the snare sample is fine. And for something like that, like a dropout and then coming back, does everything have to come back on the one always? Or could it go like stop, hold it, stop again, go? Or, stop, introducing a note, and then go. You never know. Resetting the faders and mixing again would solve 80% of the issue. Hats, at least another 10. Yeah. Are you saying that you would love to make it sound like it's played by a real band? No, not necessarily. It could still sound like a produced beat, but just introducing more nuances. Because we don't have that many notes to go from. It's basically 2 chords going back and forth and some notes on top of that, some melodies and stuff. Beautiful information, by the way. Everything makes sense in terms of musicality. But the production of it all doesn't need to sound like a band, but it could still have more human flow and a human feel in how things are programmed in terms of volume. I'm not hating on the placement in terms of like the rhythmical aspects of things, where they are placed on the timeline. I think that could be worked with as it is, just by tweaking some of the volume. Just automating volume, basically, up and down on things, would take it a really long way. Remixing the entire thing, I don't think that solves the entire thing. I think you need to work on the mixing inside of the different MIDI tracks, or however you made this. It's not a bad piece of music, but it could be so much better, so much improved by just doing a few things that I'm trying to point out. You should sidechain the hi-hats. Yeah, you could. Or just drawing a little curve on the velocity. And if we want to pick this apart even more, like the bass line, for instance, it's perfect. The bass line is exactly what it should be. just following the root note. Doesn't have to be more complicated than that. But the notes are really extended. They are really long. Doom, 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 doom. It's not bad, but together with everything else that's pretty stale, lifeless, or whatever you want to say. Again, I think the note information here is pretty beautiful. The melody and the chords, everything just makes sense and is nice. But the production falls apart a little bit. And that's one of the things we're here to talk about. So allow me to be a little bit critical. I love that sound, though. Well, let's not dwell on this one for too long. I've already been a little bit too mean or more harsh than I wanted to. You know. But again, I'm just talking into a mic, taking all sorts of, well, that's what it is. And I said that was going to be the last beat, and that's going to be the last beat. We have done this for 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2:20, something like that. And let's just cut it. This concept by having the form open for longer and just choosing beats by random, I think that works. I think it's a way to do this that works. Especially since I kind of want to take into consideration that everyone doesn't have access to high-speed internet all the time. And everyone can't be like there for 2 minutes just going ham. Doesn't make sense. Today we had a lot of great beats. Everything from lo-fi to boom bap to more experimental drumless stuff. Some really high quality stuff and some things that needs to be worked on a little bit. And that's the beauty of this entire thing. Anything goes, anyone's welcome to submit the beat. And sometimes I'm going to be a little bit harsh. Sometimes I'm just going to be nice. And the chat room also has a lot of say in this. So, cool. This is the end of this stream. That's a long sentence. So, yeah, time to go to bed. Tomorrow I have a full day of work down here to cover something really, really cool on the channel. It's going to be a video in maybe a week or so about something that's really cool. A piece of tech that's really cool. Can't say, won't say anything more about that, but it's going to be really cool. And I'm going to put a lot of work into that video too, so hopefully the video is going to be nice as well. But the piece of gear I'm covering is really cool. Really cool. And something that I think a lot of people would be interested in knowing about. You know? A secret little project that no one really knows that I have access to. And I'm stoked to have access to it. And I'm stoked to share it with you guys in a proper video. Not a loose live stream of me just trying to do something. A prepared, nicely edited, done video about a product that's really cool. How many beats did you have left? Okay, let's count backwards. VLC. We played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We played 13 beats, and today I had 28. Is that even right? It feels... let's see if I made a mistake in the email. That's 5, 12, 16, 20, and 6. No, that's right. That's 28 beats, and we got to play whatever I said. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We played 13 out of 28. So you do the math, how many was left. John came in with a super chat at the end of the show saying, thank you for supporting the craft. Thank you for supporting me and what I do. Made so well with another super chat, $2. Thank you, Accurate. Or thanks, Zach. Thank you. A big shout out and a big thank you to anyone and everyone who submits beats for this show. It's really awesome and a great position and a great situation to be able to do this. Live stream to you guys, talking about the stuff, listening to beats, featuring you guys. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I'm having a lot of fun every single Monday. Next week, we're doing this again, and tomorrow I'm working on this special little video. So, thanks a lot, everyone, and 28 beats. I know, that's a lot, and I closed it down. I don't even know how long it was, for how long I kept it open, but longer than 2 or 3 minutes, which is good, and 28 beats. Yeah, a lot of people wasn't featured today, and I'm kind of sorry about that, but we're still figuring things out, trying things in a few different ways, and today we did this, So yeah, I appreciate you guys a lot, and thanks for supporting me and what I do, and whatever. No beat making next week. You never know. Whenever I chose to go live on a stream to just make music or whatever on a live stream, but beat making videos will not be done that often anymore because I'm noticing no one cares. On live streams, that's a different thing. Maybe that's going to happen next week too. I don't know. Next Monday is going to be a beat review. Other than that, just follow the channel, subscribe, and hit the bell and get notified and all that. So you never miss anything because fuck you too, 28 minus 13 equals 15. So we have 15 beats I never played. Okay, that's what it is. No, the video will not be on Serum because everyone covers Serum and I don't care about Serum. Could you start at 20:30, like half an hour later? No, we're gonna do 8 o'clock my time. If you jump in 8:30, that's I doubt that I'm gonna have the form open for that long. Well, really? No one cares about beat making videos? That's too bad. Those are my favorite. Yeah, mine too, kind of. But I'm just noticing the numbers aren't there anymore. I don't know where to put my time anymore. But we do have a really cool project for a piece of tech that I really want to cover. So that's going to be the next one. Later on, it's going to be whatever, It's my channel. I do whatever I want. And I kind of don't work with any sponsors anymore. Not that that's necessarily my choice, but whatever. We need to end this live stream right now. And again, big shout out and thank you to everyone who joined and who submitted beats. And hopefully I didn't make anyone too upset. Thank you so much, and see you guys next week, if not before then. Until then, peace out.